Welcome to Reckless, from Wildflower Rooted and Reckless, the podcast where Angela Walker sets dumpster fires and lets her light shine. Unafraid of hard conversations, this is where perspectives are challenged, minds are opened, and respect is the rule. Because agree to disagree is more than a motto.
Hello and welcome to Reckless from the Wildflower Rooted and Reckless podcast. I am Angela Walker. Today we are going to talk about one of my favorite holidays. It is coming up and I am really excited for it. People always ask what each other's favorite everything is, right? So like, what is your favorite holiday? What's your favorite holiday? Well, my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. The reason Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday is because there really is no expectations. You don't have to bring any gifts. You don't really have to buy anything, I guess, other than making the food, which I enjoy doing anyway. There really aren't the same expectations. And I guess it's just always been a positive experience for me. We've talked about before that I enjoy awkward conversations and I enjoy having like the taboo conversations. So again, Thanksgiving is a natural winner for me. But here's the thing. Thanksgiving is like the forgotten holiday. I realize in the grand scheme of things, this is kind of a random topic, but in true reckless fashion, I just don't care. It's been heavy on my mind and, weighing on my heart as well. So a lot of people love Halloween. We dress our kids up, we parade them around, and we collect candy from strangers, which we then apparently have to check to make sure that there's not razor blades or drugs that have been laced in them, which is strange because I have it on pretty good authority that most people with drugs aren't willing to give them up, like put them into candy for children. It's just not that common of a thing. I guess you'd have to be like a really sick person who's not on drugs and doesn't want the drugs to do something like that. Anyway, I digress. So we have Christmas where we buy all the things, go beyond our means. And then of course, all the holidays around Christmas. I'm only super familiar with Christmas, so I'm not going to talk about the other ones and get those all messed up and have everybody all upset. But same premise, right? That we get together, we buy gifts for one another, and that's a lot of stress to me. Like trying to figure out what somebody wants and then having to buy that for them. It's just a lot. It's so much stress. I enjoy gift giving, but the expectation that has evolved or come with Christmas it's just too much. And it's just become so commercialized, just so buy the decorations, buy all the presents, buy all the wrapping paper. The wrapping paper. We are spending, I don't even know how much money on wrapping paper to wrap presents that then get unwrapped, like ripped apart and thrown away. And yes, there are some very savvy people that actually save their wrapping paper and fold it nicely and steam it and all the things and save it for the next time. But as a majority, like that's not a thing that's happening. And it's just weird and dumb. Let's just see, because now I'm curious. Americans use 4.6 million pounds of wrapping paper. Americans spend upwards of $2.6 billion collectively on wrapping paper. With an average length of 30 feet per roll, this amounts to around 360 billion feet of wrapping paper, enough to circle the earth more than 14 times. We could actually literally wrap the earth for Christmas with all the wrapping paper we use. That's insane. New Year is a good one. I do like New Year's. I really don't have any complaints about New Year's other than not wanting to be out on the roads because of the drunk drivers. But New Year's is a good one. You do kind of set yourself up for what's to come. You got to have like your word or your resolution or whatever. So, all right, New Year's. Okay. I do enjoy Valentine's Day. It's probably my second favorite holiday because for me anyway, there's really no expectations. Like, let's go out to dinner. It's like a mutual love holiday. Anyway, so I bring up Halloween and Christmas because, believe it or not, in the middle of those two, like in between those two, is another holiday, and it is called Thanksgiving. And it is like the forgotten holiday, and I don't understand that at all. So there's some mainstream stories that are taught in schools about Thanksgiving. Everything from Thanksgiving being rooted in like harvest festivals where communities come together and give thanks for a bountiful harvest and blessings of the year. Colonists in North America, immigrants often declare days of Thanksgiving or prayer in gratitude for favorable events. So a good harvest, safe voyages, relief from drought. Just an example, after a drought in 1623, settlers in what became Massachusetts held a day of Thanksgiving, prayer, and fasting when rain relieved the drought. The first Thanksgiving story, one of the most popular origin stories, is the 1621 settlers or pilgrims at Plymouth shared a 3-day feast with local indigenous people. This feast is portrayed as a moment of cooperation, gratitude, and mutual sharing between colonists and indigenous peoples. I have no idea. Here's the thing. I'm not going to pretend to know what happened in the past. Yes, there are stories that have been passed down. Yes, there is a game called Telephone that even if you sit 5 people in the same room and whisper to each one, it comes back different. So I have a really hard time with just accepting what people tell me from hundreds of years ago. If I wasn't there and I didn't get to see it, look, there's his side, her side, and the truth. If there's 15 people in the room, well, now there's 16 sides of a story, right? The 15 people and the truth. So I get it. A lot of people have shied away from Thanksgiving because now they're saying that it wasn't as cooperative as we've been led to believe, and that it's really nothing to be celebrated, and we stole and we raided people, the indigenous people, and stole from them and things like that. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. I wasn't there, and I don't know anybody who actually was. So I have to go with what Thanksgiving means to me. Over time, the tradition was institutionalized. For instance, in 1789, George Washington proclaimed a day of public thanksgiving and prayer after the adoption of the U.S. Constitution, asking citizens to give thanks for freedoms. Okay, that's fair. Later presidents and congressional acts formalized Thanksgiving as an annual national holiday. In 1941, U.S. law fixed Thanksgiving as the 4th Thursday of November. Over time, Thanksgiving became more secular for many people, a time for family gatherings, feasts, rest, reflection, or gratitude, not strictly religious. I never knew it to be religious. That's the thing. Like, Thanksgiving is not a religious or a sacrilegious holiday. It's also used to promote national unity, civic identity, and shared cultural values, especially in a diverse population. Right, exactly. It's used to promote national unity, civic identity, and shared cultural values. Or, for some families, not shared cultural values. Oh, jeepers. According to indigenous perspectives, the commonly taught narrative omitted or glossed over centuries of injustices, land theft, forced assimilation, and violence against Native peoples, which is terrible. Some narratives downplay conflict, disease, or power dynamics, presenting a more harmonious image than might historically have been the case. Some indigenous groups observe Thanksgiving as a day of mourning rather than celebration to acknowledge historical trauma, loss, and the continuing consequences of colonization. There are protest events that challenge the holiday's narrative and call attention to the perspectives of tribes that suffered displacement or violence. Some activists have coined terms like thanks-taking to reclaim the narrative and highlight indigenous resilience and sovereignty rather than the standard celebratory framing. In U.S. history, some leaders used Thanksgiving to promote national unity. For example, during the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln proclaimed Thanksgiving in 1863, partly to unify a divided nation. The holiday also functioned in the 19th and early 20th centuries as a way to integrate immigrants into a common culture and identity reinforcing patriotic values. Then we get into like conspiracy and fringe controversial type claims. They're less mainstream, more speculative. So you've got like whitewashing or propaganda. Some see the popular Thanksgiving narrative as propaganda that obscures or sanitizes colonial violence, presenting a sanitized version of history. Critics say that some of the narratives were shaped by political or ideological forces, example, editors, school curricula to promote certain values or national identity at the expense of marginalized perspectives. That's terrible. I realize that there are lots of ways to look at Thanksgiving. Everything from the traditional taught pilgrims came over on the Mayflower and landed at Plymouth Rock, and they met the indigenous people who taught them all the ways of survival, and they all had bountiful harvests and came together and sat down at the friendly table and they feasted together, and it was Thanksgiving feast. And then obviously over the years, it was like, yeah, it wasn't quite like that. Basically, they came over on their boat and they captured us and pillaged us and ravaged us and stole from us and forced us to sit with them and pretend to be friends. That's terrible. That's terrible. And I understand wanting to err on the side of caution, but also maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. I feel like for me, from my perspective, God makes everything good. People come in and they just dance their little dirty feet all around it and mess it up and create it as something negative, as something bad. And then I guess we have a choice. And maybe that's really what prompted me to talk about this today is I would like to collectively make a choice to find the positives of Thanksgiving, the coming together, the sitting down to feast with one another, the collective movement forward. I know that's not going to be everybody's favorite thing, but I just feel like here we are in 2025. We are such a melting pot of opinions, such a melting pot of colors, such a melting pot of cultures that we should be able to say, hey, that was not okay. None of that was okay. We should be able to reclaim a holiday. We should be able to dedicate a day to come together as family, as friends, right? Like the Friendsgiving from the show Friends, and they have their Friendsgiving. And I love that. I always love that. And I'm not saying that we should erase the things that happened by any means. I mean, it should be acknowledged for sure that these things transpired. But it sounds to me like Thanksgiving had nothing to do with any of that. I mean, just from what I have derived from everything that I've read about it and the different reckless rabbit holes I've gone down when it comes to Thanksgiving and theories behind its origin. I don't know. I mean, it all's kind of BS, to be honest with you. Whether it was like the government using it for their own agenda or religions using it for their own agenda or whatever the case may be. I mean, there's just so many different ideas behind it. It doesn't actually mark any significant day. Like there's no actual, like the 4th of July is the 4th of July. Christmas is the same day, December 25th, every year, because that is accepted as the day that Jesus was born. Like there's specific days attached to these holidays. Thanksgiving is just the 4th Thursday of November. Like it's not a specific day. And so I think as a people, we need to reclaim this holiday and we need to bring it back. I mean, if we can celebrate the Day of the Dead and we can celebrate Jesus's birthday, which I mean, they don't even think that it was his actual birthday. okay, then like we could celebrate Turkey Day. All of this to say, Thanksgiving is supposed to be about gratitude. Sometimes it feels more like gluttony, chaos, pretending that everything is okay at a table full of unresolved family drama. It's almost like Thanksgiving has become the dirty foot of the holidays. And I just want to share what I think Thanksgiving should be. I just think that we should not be skipping over a day that is literally made for gratitude. It's one day of the year that we are genuinely challenged to be grateful. I think it's ironic that holidays where massive amounts of sugar and gluttony and dressing up like demonic figures and stuff is celebrated and taking off. And then holidays that are, again, gluttonous and invoke entitlement and spoiledness and wanting more and more and more and more, that also sort of belittle people. I don't know how to explain that. Like Christmas, for example, really exposes kids. I just think about volunteering in the classrooms when my kids were younger, and there would be, especially around Christmas time, kids talking about what they want for Christmas, what they want. You know, they're all excited. Santa's going to bring them, even if they didn't believe in Santa, you know, what they were going to get for Christmas. And then after Christmas, there was something interesting that would happen. The kids that got exactly what they thought they were going to get came in, and I can't say that they were necessarily happy or happier. It was almost like a duh, like, yeah, I got what I put on my list. Of course I did. Even if they were one of the kids that had their name on the board all the time. And then you had the kids that did not get what was on their list. And there's such an array of them as well. And it left them feeling as less than. And I know that there's going to be this whole sector of people that's going to say, like, that's their parents' problem. That's their issue, right? Which is ironic because these are the same people that are going to be like, this is a society problem later on when these kids grow into adults and become a member of society. But I've really gone into the weeds on this. Anyway, let's back up here because really what I'm trying to say is I miss Thanksgiving. I want to see Thanksgiving decorations in front yards. I want to see more Thanksgiving celebrations, and I want to see new Thanksgiving traditions. One of my favorites is a friend of mine on Facebook does a like Thanksgiving tree. I'm pretty sure that it is a branch that one of her kids picked out of the yard. In fact, it might be a branch that was picked out of the yard like many moons ago and they use it every single year. Maybe it's a new branch every year. I'm not sure. They have like these little leaf note papers or whatever that they write what they're thankful for and they clip it to the branch of their little Thanksgiving tree. And I love that. I think that's fantastic. And that would be what I would motion for. What I would move for is to reclaim Thanksgiving and to make it truly a holiday of being thankful. I think no matter where you come from or what your background is or what your beliefs are, one thing we should all be able to agree upon is there is at least something to be grateful for. There has to be at least one thing that you are grateful for. So in between trick or treat and letters to Santa, maybe we could just take a day to say that one thing that we're thankful for. Maybe we just give it the time that it deserves. And maybe if we start doing that and maybe if we're more intentional about Thanksgiving and celebrating the fact that there are things to be thankful for, maybe as a society, we could do better. I'm not saying this is like going to be world peace stuff here. I'm not saying that this is going to solve all of our problems, but I do definitely think that it's a start. I think it's a step forward. We have fall decorations. We have pumpkins and pumpkin patches and scarecrows. We have trunk or treats. We have Halloween, trick or treating. And then we literally just flash forward into Christmas. Christmas trees and Santa Claus and reindeers and cute little dogs dressed up with Santa Claus hats and all the Christmas things. And I love Christmas. I'm not saying I don't love Christmas. I love Christmas. And I actually enjoy Halloween also. I don't like being scared, but I do like Halloween. And I don't like the dark, so there's that. But give Thanksgiving its space, okay? Give Thanksgiving its space. It is almost a month from Halloween, and it is a month before Christmas. So give Thanksgiving the space that it deserves. That's all I'm saying. In a world where we are so torn apart by so many different things, I think that we should all be able to come together to reclaim Thanksgiving. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Just kidding. I probably can't even say that. It's probably some sort of copyright thing. But thank you for attending my soapbox performance. I don't know how you say that. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening. Until next week, stay reckless.
You've been listening to a Wildflower Rooted and Reckless podcast production with Angela Walker. Catch Wildflower drops on Tuesdays, Rooted on Wednesdays, and Reckless on Thursdays. Subscribe wherever you listen. Stay wild, stay rooted, stay reckless.